Hey, it's Josiah, and this is a fun one. This is just a fun one. That's the game plan here. After the Christian rock summer month in July, and then the road trip to Colorado, and then kind of the heavy politicsy episode we had last week, I just wanted something easy. And so my brother had reached out to me, my brother Caleb, and had said that he had wanted an excuse to talk about Supernatural, the TV show that he had finally finished. He'd finally watched through all of it, and he had some thoughts. So he had me watch 2 episodes of Supernatural. He had me watch season 11, episode 20, Don't Call Me Shurley, and season 11, episode 21, All in the Family. This is the big reveal where God shows up in the show, and I've always thought that sounded kind of interesting, but never enough to watch the whole show. So Caleb is here, equipped with the lore, and my good friend Jackal, who is on many episodes of this, you know Jackal, joins us as we discuss these couple episodes here. So this is kind of a fun, low-key episode, low-effort episode. Yeah. You can tell I didn't even script out this opening part. I am just winging it right now. That's why it sounds worse than usual. And hey, speaking of that, if you like the show, you should support it on Patreon. I have to say that before we get started. $3 a month, and you get a bunch of bonus episodes. It's super cool. And I'm also considering, if you leave reviews on Apple Podcasts, maybe reading them out at the beginning of the episode. So if you want to get that read out, you should leave a review. Okay, on to the episode. Bye. You are listening to Fruitless, a podcast hosted by me, Josiah Sutton. This is episode 42, Supernatural spoilers, where Jackal, Caleb, and I spoiled all of Supernatural.
In lieu of this, thank Chuck.
Thank Chuck.
Yes, thank Chuck.
Well, let's just say, hey everybody, this is the silly one. You know, I've been doing a lot of well-researched Fruitless episodes, and I just wanted to relax. And so Caleb had been wanting, my brother Caleb here, had been wanting me to tell me about Supernatural. And so promising me an episode in which I only had to watch an episode or 2 of a TV show as research sold me, because I'm so tired this month. So here it is, everyone. We're talking about Supernatural, a show I didn't really watch through, and we just threw me in at season. What season did you throw me?
10 or 11, I can't remember.
I think it's the God reveal. It's the God reveal. This is going to be an incredibly spoilersy episode of this show. If you're somebody who cares about that, don't listen to this episode.
I have just officially finished it after watching it since like middle school, early high school. Yeah. And it underwhelming, definitely. It just keeps, they know it's fucking long, and they know it, and they know it's getting predictable, so they'll make like reasons for like self-aware reasons. There was little nods to themselves, like they there's a cartoon episode where they're in Scooby-Doo, Dean is hitting on Daphne.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but this show, you know, is just an abomination of Abrahamic folklore and pagan mumbo jumbo, and It gets really like pedantic around like season 5 or 5 through 8. That's when people say it kind of falls off. I kind of liked 8. Like it was very dumb. It was like Leviathans with this shitty CG mouth where their whole face was teeth. But yeah, it's just a bunch of pop and rock cultural reference humor, and
yeah. It's, and you have like you've had kind of a fixation on it and wanting to finish it despite not quite liking it because it's this cultural object. And I've had some of that desire, but not fucking 13 seasons of that desire. You know what I mean? Also Jackal's here. I don't think we said that.
Hi,
Jackal's here.
Hello.
My bad.
That's good. Jackal, how you
roped
doing?
Me into this. somehow. I don't remember how.
I just asked.
Somewhere along when I was watching the second episode, I thought, what the hell am I doing?
Watching one of the kings of Tumblr girl shows.
Yeah, so, okay, I think that could be a good way to start this conversation, is like what everyone's relationship with Supernatural is.
Yeah.
Caleb, you kind of got into it, but is there anything else you want to say? You know, you were watching it in middle school, right?
Yeah, it starts off pretty fun. It's like, now that I've watched the whole thing, I would describe it as like young adult Scooby-Doo.
Okay.
And
as opposed to kids Scooby-Doo, it's the next level up. There's a little sex in it. Ooh.
Yes, when I was in middle school, I said, "Oh, this is so grown up. It's like grown up Scooby-Doo," but no, it's young adult Scooby-Doo. And it starts off really, it's neat. It's fun. You know, the charm is way bigger at the beginning. You know, they're just, everything's so much smaller. Like a vampire is really scary, or a demon is really terrifying. And then eventually they're just killing those things left and right with like special weapons they've found. Like angel blades are real neat. But before that, they found like a demon knife or the what is it, the Colt. It's a gun made by Samuel Colt that kills almost anything. Almost.
And what season does the gun that kills everything enter the show?
That's like you start hearing about it in like season 2 or 3. And then it gets like used on a couple people, but then gets melted by Lucifer in like season 5.
Okay.
This is a show that is one of the best case studies as to why some things should end. Why there should be, because as far as I'm gonna state this, and this is also the case for Josiah, we haven't watched the show. We've only watched like 2 episodes of the show in like season 11.
Yeah, so we dived in at season 11, episode 20 and 21.
But I have, as an aficionado of internet culture, I've been aware of Supernatural for a very long time.
One has to be, yes.
And also, if you were just growing up in the early 2000s, you were aware of like the cultural stranglehold that Supernatural had.
Yeah, it's an old show. It's like 2006 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was King. It was a King. Yeah. The King show at the time, really.
Yeah. The actors they pulled were like specifically from like hot guy roles. Like one of them was in Gilmore Girls as a boyfriend, and one of them was on soap opera, like Days of Our Lives or something.
Oh, wow.
Was this one of the first shows that kind of created the brand identity for the... Why the hell am I forgetting the name of the network? The Hot Guy Network.
So CW? I know later it's CW.
I don't think it was CW then, but it became the CW. But this is like all of those CW shows of, we're doing a show of this, but it's with hot people.
Isn't Smallville like in that camp too?
Yeah. Smallville was another example of like one of those early CW shows that like created like the brand identity for that network going forward. And it's also another show that's an example that it should have ended at like season 5 or season. Like, there is a significant point where no, you should have stopped right here. But yeah, you kept going.
I haven't watched enough Smallville to know where that line is. But those are shows I think of as just kind of permanently in my brain as the aesthetic of the 2000s. Like, because it was just always on a TV. You'd be like in a, even like in a doctor waiting room or something, and it would be like Smallville reruns on the TV. Like, that's what I think of. It's that combination of kind of the dark lighting. There's like the influence of like scene and emo has kind of drifted into culture a little bit at this time. So everything's got that high contrast, dark kind of look to it. Maybe it's not high contrast, but you know what I mean? Like an Evanescence music video. Everything has a little bit of that feel to it.
They look like television shows.
Yeah, well, exactly. These shows have that look. And then it's like coupled with like really bad CGI that's also kind of really charming. You know, like,
Yeah.
you know,
like, dude, let's be clear. I don't think that any of us are gonna denigrate like the charm of early 2000s genre television.
no, yeah.
I love that garbage too much to like say anything bad about it, to be honest.
I haven't watched through Smallville, but like Kelly was watching through it, and like she would be watching it, and I'd catch myself getting sucked in. I love how tacky and high emotion it all is. It's really it's awesome. I love it. Yeah,
there's something oddly competent about the storytelling, even with how tacky it is. It's good at its job in being good television.
That being said, so this, you know, we're looking at an episode from Supernatural here. This is 2016.
Yeah.
And at this point, the show has gotten really meta, and it's caving in on itself.
They're making Trump references at this point. Oh, you took notes. Nice.
I took notes, and one of the notes that I wrote in big bold, so meta.
I like think I wrote the same thing because of that. Okay, we'll get there. Real quick, though, I want to say, I want to do so Jackal, what's your relationship to the show? You kind of got into it there, but what's your, I guess,
Yeah, Supernatural was a show that I didn't watch, but I was always aware of, because if you like had a television in the early 2000s, you were aware of Supernatural. And then, you know, as all of us of this Doom generation started to get access,
well, that was
to
the 90s, actually. Sorry, I'm just kidding. As a reference to the film The Doom Generation.
We're the new Doom generation.
The second Doom generation.
Exactly. Once you start to like get online and aware of like online communities around like nerd shit, Supernatural was inescapable.
Mm-hmm.
You were aware of it. Even if you didn't watch it, you were aware of it. And as a kid, I didn't really have any interest in the show. It didn't like catch me. I was too busy watching Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon to really care about Supernatural as a child. And then there was a point where I tried to get into it, but I think at that point the Monster of the Week setup kind of got tiring. Because I think I started early, but at that point I think that I went in expecting that they were going to go somewhere, versus at that point it was still mostly based on like a Monster of the Week structure. Rather than what it would become later on.
Yeah, and I remember like in the Tumblr era and stuff, when people were selling you on it, it was more on the big picture story that was being told in it. And so then when you started in those first couple seasons, it would get frustrating, because that was when it was still mostly a Monster of the Week show. And you're like,
which is not bad. Monster of the Week is a good setup.
I like the X-Files, for instance. I think that follows that format and it does it really well.
I did like the anime. I did watch the Supernatural anime. I think it's like a season. It's solid. Really? It's cool.
Did not know there was an anime.
My relationship with this show is, you know, as we said, I saw it on TVs and shit throughout my childhood, but then my attempts at actually trying to watch it happened in high school, for the reason a lot of things I tried in high school happened. I had a crush on a girl who loved Supernatural.
This is this is some inside baseball. This is how most
there's a lot of things I got introduced to this way.
People get into a lot of things. Me included is, this person I have a crush on is really into this. I have to get into this, no matter how much I really don't vibe with it.
Exactly. And like I did this, like when I was in Boy Scouts, I got a horse riding merit badge because I had a crush on a horse girl. Like look, it's just a thing. It's just a thing.
It's
and then,
awesome that every time I talk to you, you reveal like new lore about yourself that suddenly explains everything about you as a person to me.
Yeah, so did that. And then this was a girl I had a crush on that was a Tumblr girl. And because of that, you know, I was also kind of authentically getting into Tumblr. So it was this, both of those things. It's like she was the other Tumblr user I knew. And so we both like were the Tumblr people. And I was getting into Tumblr more because of the fandom that I latched onto was Doctor Who. That was the one I got into, which, like, if it makes sense, Jackal, we've talked, because my dad was obsessed with BBC BBC shows. So like I actually got into Doctor Who not in the way most people did through online stuff. I got into it from watching late night PBS of the old episodes first.
Yeah,
and then getting really excited when the new
OG
show
stuff before the Christopher Eccleston revival.
Yeah, and I the Christopher Eccleston revival was happening while I was getting into it, so that was the cool thing is I was like, oh my god, they're making new episodes and they look so good. Which is so funny now, but at the time, because those old Doctor Who episodes are like hanging a piece of tinfoil from some string and saying it's an alien, and there's like CGI in the new one, so I just perceived that as, oh my god, it's so realistic. Anyway, so I was on Tumblr, and so because of that, like, I also had the Tumblr pressure of like, I gotta try to like Supernatural, and I really gave it a go for a couple seasons, and I just couldn't do it, and it was that Monster of the Week format got really tiring to me after a while, like we're saying. It's just so much TV.
Yeah, it's the same thing that I think that if you were to go into watching even like an episodic formula like The Simpsons, like if you were trying to pitch The Simpsons to someone now, that is kind of hard. Except there's more of a clear cutoff point that, you can stop watching it this season. Mm-hmm. It's kind of closer to anime example, One Piece, where it's like, there's like a bajillion episodes and it's like a continuous storyline that how many things do I have to watch? Yeah. That's a hard thing to sell people on, even if it is like good. TV that goes on for a really, really long time has a tendency of scaring off newer audiences.
Yeah. And I've become more of a baby about that over the years, because like in high school, I was able to like binge all of How I Met Your Mother or all of Scrubs or something like that. And I just can't do that anymore. I just really, I don't know.
How many times have I told you to watch a show? And I'm still waiting to hear back on what you think of the show.
Yeah, that happens a lot. We are beeping the ones that I haven't watched. I'm beeping them because I don't want other people to get on my ass about, how have you not seen...
How dare you? How dare you?
Well, it's just pure insult and laziness at this point, because it's like you're in the final last little jog you can do, and you're done.
I think you have one more episode to watch.
It happens.
The momentum is done. You're not going to feel it as much.
I watched the Supernatural episodes. Okay.
I'm
really impressed. We need to do a fruitless episode. That will push you to actually finish the show.
Yeah, maybe, one episode. Yeah, for one podcast for one TV show episode. No.
Okay, but so part of the reason you picked this as the moment to to throw us into Supernatural is because this is one of the plot lines I'm most interested in, and not interested in necessarily that I thought it was going to be good, but I'm often interested in when it's very clear that an author of some sort is using a god insert as just the authors entering the story. Yep. And this is like the most on the nose version of that. Yes. And you know what? It was not weird. It was not hard to follow those two episodes, because they do the bad writing thing in Supernatural where they include extraneous information in the dialogue to, they don't literally do this, but like if for Caleb, you're my brother, right? If in the movie I go, you're my brother, you know this. So that I'm able to like wink at the camera, so now there's so much of that in Supernatural constantly that like I was able to completely piece together what had happened.
They are very good at doing that for the same reason you're saying. There's just so much show, they know people are going to miss it, so they need to be able to keep you to be able to understand if you missed a part.
Yeah. Like I was able to, let's see if I got the lore correct from this. And I did not look any of this up. God in this universe has a sister whose name Amara. Amara is nothingness, is death, is destruction, and he's creation in some sense. That's the theology of the show. It's Gnostic. You got that going on. And then you've got Lucifer was the son of God.
Yeah, all angels are technically the sons of God. Okay. They're all brothers.
Okay, and then Metatron is also an angel, right? Who somehow lost some of his powers. That I wasn't clear on, but I gathered that happened. And yeah, and so what? Oh, and I know that Dean and Amara clearly have some weird relationship. I got that.
I watched the entire show and I still don't know what the fuck really is going on there.
Okay.
I think it's because she was bound inside of him with the mark of Cain. That's how she's been locked away for all this time. Lucifer had it, then it made him evil, and then he gave it, and they tricked Cain into having it. And then Dean kills Cain and gets it.
How long has God been absent? Because it's talking a lot about God, you left and all that. Is that he left within the show for a while, like he was there and disappeared? Or is that like broadly like you haven't interacted with humanity since like ancient times?
I think it said that he left around the like 800s or something.
Okay. That's what I took it as too. And so like, I don't know, there were aspects of it I kind of liked because I liked it being kind of a reflection on like disenchantment, you know, and like, I don't think it's really doing that super well, but it is playing with that, you know, it's a conversation with God of like, why aren't you directly intervening right now? And
it's trying to do something.
The angels throughout it are really hurt by that whole thing. Like a lot of them go mad because of it. Like there are special angels. I have it all written down in this document, but I don't want to dig through it right now. Of like, there's a certain type that like instead they like feed on. They were medics, but now feed on human souls or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Some of the archangels, Lucifer is acting out. Well, he'd been acting out since the beginning, but like Michael is like this kid waiting for his dad to come back, so he'll like stomp over anyone to do his bidding. He's I think Castiel refers to him in the show as like a zealot or something. Not a zealot, but like just wants to do it as it's written. He's very loyal,
rule following.
And then there's a different universe, Michael, who is like he killed all the humans, and then he realized God is just playing with different worlds. So he wants to just start breaking everything.
Wait, what do you mean by a different universe, Michael? Hold on. What do you mean by that?
Okay. This is after
what
season
drives me
11.
insane about the show. Every time
you can't
like,
just say.
No.
You can't just say that.
There's just like, and then there's the fucking episode where they go to an alternate universe.
Not episode. That's a season.
A season.
A whole fucking season.
So in season 11, so later in this season you guys just watched, Lucifer and God make up for a bit.
Okay.
And but then God leaves again, so then Lucifer is like, fucking shit, not you bastard, not again. And then he's like, I am gonna make the Antichrist. So he tricks his way into the president's. He possesses the president by so Lucifer is an angel, so the only way he can possess someone is if they let him, so he tricks people into doing it a lot of the time, and he does that to the president. Then he fucks the president's girlfriend. She gets pregnant with Jack, who will be born as an 18-year-old boy, and she dies in the process, but that's like later. She raises him to be good, and like Castiel, who is the angel buddy of the two main characters, protects her for a while. But when he gets born, because angels, you see, they only have grace. They don't have a soul. Humans have a soul, and souls are power. So because he is he's a forbidden offspring of an angel and a human, he's a Nephilim, and that makes him almost as powerful as God, maybe more powerful. Because God doesn't have a soul either.
Yeah, because there's that dialogue. Okay, and these are some of the handful of dialogues I like because they feel like Douglas Adams bits, you know, like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy bits. Was like the one where Metatron is like, no, you know, in the episode, God is writing an autobiography, and he's like going like, well, you created souls. Tell us, like, how did you feel when you created souls? And he went nauseous. And that felt like, that made me laugh. Those are the kind of like little things I enjoyed about the episode, was the moments it kind of felt like a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy bit, but I definitely the religious one. Yeah.
I definitely preferred the first episode over the second one.
That was.
I felt like the writing around Chuck and Metatron was a lot stronger, and more compelling than like Chuck's dynamic with Sam and Dean.
Yeah, like the main episode you wanted us to watch, that season 11 episode 20, Don't Call Me Shurley, that one.
Yes.
I the whole time kept thinking, I really wish it would stop cutting back to Dean and Sam. I could not care less about what was going on in their plot line. It seemed like another Monster of the Week thing was happening. I know there's probably some build up to how they ended up FBI agents or making people believe they were FBI agents.
They've been
or
doing
whatever.
that since the beginning of the show.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's like they masqueraded
just part
like
of the show.
various kinds of,
I didn't remember that.
federal law enforcement.
Yes,
to
they
allow
do.
them access.
And their names will be like famous rock stars. Like they'll be Agent Page, like the Led Zeppelin guy.
Well, and so that, not that, but like, I guess, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with them, but like, it looks like just another Monster of the Week. It's just that the monster is related to the dialogue going on with God. And the most interesting part of the episode is, Metatron and God in that bar arguing about, like, God, why didn't God intervene for all this fucked up stuff? And then, God wanting to write his own autobiography, and he's covering for all the fucked up things that have happened to the world by talking about learning how to play guitar and stuff. That was the more interesting stuff. I was way more interested in that.
Yes, because the whole reason I came up with doing this episode was because I was drunk watching that. I'm like, this is kind of pulling on the heartstrings a little bit, and it's really dumb but interesting. This would be fun to talk about.
Yeah.
It feels like the first draft of what if Douglas Adams wrote Good Omens.
Oh yeah, like what if Douglas Adams was not an atheist? I don't know, because there's a real like problem of evil kind of thing going on throughout it. This real like, I don't know. I love that kind of this is maybe too high art of a reference for this because I don't think it works, but like Seventh Seal, playing chess with death, those kind of scenes. It's like that very on the nose metaphorical thing. Yeah, I like it. I like that.
Where
stuff.
You take a massive, metaphysical construct or a metaphysical, construct or entity or whatever, and then that's like a character that is talking. That's interesting, and that's fun to play with, and it really plays well more with Metatron because Metatron has history with Chuck versus I just don't really feel it the way that I felt it with like Sam and Dean. I guess it was interesting that Sam is much more overtly religious in that he's like, oh yeah, no, okay, all right, we've got
it's
like
God, all right,
G
cool.
Dude here. Let's you know what to do, so let's follow. While Dean is a lot more hesitant.
Yeah, a lot more like, where were you all these years? Why are you now coming back? Like,
that's interesting, but because there's all this shit around Amara and that they need Lucifer to help seal her, and that I obviously, Caleb, you will know more, and we'll get into it. But
yes,
I have a center point for me watching these two episodes was a question that kept knocking the back of my head. Well, it's a few of them, but they're all related to this one. So what kind of God is Chuck?
Yeah.
Okay. So
well, Caleb's gonna answer that question.
Yes, I am. He's the one I wrote the most about, like individually, because I did them in like sections. But he, like we were saying, it's very Gnostic. So in the beginning, there was nothing. Turns out nothing is a place, and there's a embodiment of him. It's called the Shadow, and then in the Shadow is where God and Amara were one being. When they split, that caused the Big Bang, and God was able to harness the creation from that, where Amara was didn't like a lot of it. She found it like annoying and really only wanted to be around him. And he is very like selfish. He's very like, he wants things to be a good story, like they showed off in that episode. He's a writer. It started out with him making like these books that were just the supernatural books, and originally he called himself a prophet and made everyone think he was
right. And so he's writing these books that are called supernatural within the show that happen to also line up with things that happen in the show, right?
Yes.
Yeah
And that's kind of how then he just disappears from the show, and they introduce a new prophet, so they just assume he died, but it was him obviously writing that in to happen. But also around the same time of God and Mara in the Nothing was Death. He's an entity, and him and the Shadow are all about natural balance. And
Okay.
I was so I'm gonna bring some theological theology here, and also some religious studies here, because so Amara, she's basically like Tiamat from the Enuma Elish, right? She's just like
Okay.
the personification of darkness.
Mhm.
yeah, pretty much.
So I suggest the listeners to go listen to this. It's free on YouTube. There's a Yale Introduction to the Old Testament video series. I think it's lecture 3, which is the Hebrew Bible in ancient Near Eastern context. Because when I was watching this, like, this was one of the big things that I kind of kept coming from this, is that they're kind of they're mythologizing God. They're adding because like a key thing that lecture series points out, it's taking, from a religious studies guy, Ezekiel Kaufman. And one of the things that he points out in his work is that God doesn't have like a family. He doesn't have a theogony. He doesn't have a beginning or an end. He just like is. The Hebrew Bible presents God as just a thing that exists without a beginning or end. There's no theogony, there's no family, there's nothing. He just is. And Supernatural presents it that no, there was a place, there was a beginning, and he does have a family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is cool. Man. Yeah. So I wrote I may have covered a bit of this, but this is the first thing I wrote about God, which is just kind of his synopsis. So obviously he made the universe, quote, because he was lonely. Mm-hmm. Later, Amara states it's because he wanted to be big, which he was like, yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. God created the archangels to lock her away. That's how he became the supreme being. And then Lucifer was his favorite, but then he gave him that mark and he got corrupted. He turned Lilith in the Garden of Eden to be the first demon. And let's see. Yeah, eventually he just got fed up with all of it. He just felt it was like everything was just his fault. So he just started going around to humans, just kind of because he said he didn't want to be a helicopter parent. That's the whole
that's a reoccurring line in this. I noticed is him saying like, he has this real parental relationship with creation and wanting to like eventually let go and let it become something itself.
Yeah, which he says he includes free will into the whole package, and that souls have always been tricky and he can't always control them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's pretty limited in some ways. Like he's actually not the most powerful being. Like Death has said he's supposed to reap God at one point. Later, Death becomes a whole nother person because they kill the original Death. And then whoever the next Reaper to dies will become the new Reaper. So they kill a Reaper and she becomes Death.
Okay.
And then there's Death's library and Death books and when all the different ways people were supposed to die. And Death hates Sam and Dean, especially Dean because they keep coming back and messing with the natural order.
It's just like, it makes me, it's like if the Seventh Seal suddenly had a moment where like a guy came in and shot Death in the head and was like, I represent fucking some other thing in theology. And then it's like fan fiction built out of the chess scenes in the Seventh Seal. Well, fan fiction based around the Bible. That's what it is. It's Bible fan fiction.
Yeah, it's pretty much that. It's instead of a gun, it was his own scythe. That's the only thing that can kill Death.
I see. Beautiful. Right. Of course, because there's got to be rules because this is Diablo.
I think that was also the case in the video game Dante's Inferno.
No, you know what? This does make me think a lot of Diablo, and I don't know why I like it more in Diablo than I do in this. I don't know.
Well, Diablo lets you turn demons into slushy piles of red stuff. So I
think that's how forgive it. Because if you go like, oh, that's a bit far fetched, then you go back to, all right, I'm chopping up skeletons.
And it's also like I'm not going to try to say that like you can't build like interesting fictional mythologies off of the Abrahamic Abrahamic, religious tradition. Absolutely, you can. It works in multiple pieces of context, like you said with Diablo. There's just something so strange, and maybe it is because that for Josiah and I, we're just jumping right on the deep end in this. But there is something so strange about the structure of Superman. It feels like they just kind of made it up per episode. That no, we need Lucifer was needed for this, so him and Chuck gotta play cool with each other because you need Lucifer for the seal, and Chuck might try to self-sacrifice himself to his sister so that because he might be able to do a cosmic trade so that he gets destroyed, but then she gets caged again so that the universe is safe.
Yeah. And I guess that shit's in Diablo, but then it follows that up with an awesome boss battle. And that's how you kind of forgive it.
And you need item.
Yeah, because when it's functioning in Supernatural, what kind of is like a soap opera, like literally in how soap operas will happen, where it's like this guy's dead and then 10 seasons later he's back because of a miraculous surgery. Like just constant, they're writing it as they're going and just will do insane things to just bring characters back and create coalitions that didn't exist before and all that shit. But it's doing it and then just like replacing it with it being about a hot doctor or something. It's about God.
There's also to almost to elevate Diablo a little bit. Diablo is not directly about like our world or Abrahamic.
Yeah, it is
religious,
a fictional world. That's true.
It's taking it as inspiration. Like,
there's no God, or there was a God type being, but he's not God.
No, he was around, but then he split himself into two, and then he fought, and then the remains of both of them became like the foundations for heaven and hell, and then it's taking like clear inspiration from Abrahamic mythology, but it's also like just using it as building blocks for its own fictional setting. Versus here, another thing that I made a note of, and this I was asking Caleb about this because this is I went on a fucking deep dive about this with Supernatural. I still got the answer to my question.
Okay,
where is Jesus?
So they were, I think, too scared to fully write him into the story.
Is Chuck a Trinitarian entity, or are they saying that he's a Unitarian being? Okay. All right, so there's a Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Where are the other two, or is he all of them? That's a heresy.
Okay, I will be real. I don't think Supernatural cares too much about the heresy problem.
An angel at some point says that the Bible gets more wrong than it does right.
Yeah. Because he says, I didn't do that about turning, because I think Dean is like, don't turn me into a pillar of salt. And he's like, I didn't do that.
But then there's salt was a weapon at some point in the show, though, so that's a lie.
So what the fuck are they even doing? What?
I don't know. Well, God lies in it. That's pretty established. He says, I'm a writer. Of course I lie. That's later when he's the bad guy. But okay, so back to the Jesus thing. It's implied Michael was Jesus for a bit. And also there's an angel that was hanging out in the garden at one point, and they say he had some Jesus-like qualities.
Now, when you say garden, do you mean the Garden of Eden?
Yes, there's a place. There's the most safest place on earth. You can get to it through a ball.
What?
Wait, is that the bar they're in, or is that a different place?
No, not bar.
Oh, okay.
Ball.
No, I know that, but he calls the bar that they're in throughout it like the safest place ever made or whatever.
I think he made it safer than there because only he can get to it, because the other Garden of Eden you can get to the ball. It's got a name like the Ocu
Super Eden
or something.
Super Eden.
Yeah, Super Eden.
Because this is so is Chuck God the Father?
He calls himself that.
Okay, so he's God the Father.
Yeah, he's God the Father.
Yeah, he talks to the angels as his kids.
If we're really trying to plug this into the Trinitarian formula, then there's no Holy Spirit necessarily. The Holy Spirit
death might be the Holy Spirit.
Maybe I was thinking though, like if Holy Spirit speaks through the prophets, then that means it's just more like the Holy Spirit is that bureaucracy of angels that like inscribes people with prophecy. That's the Holy Spirit in this.
Oh man, that goes along with the nihilism of the show.
Yeah.
Like,
and then Jesus, I think he just is also kind of Jesus, because I mean, I don't know where this goes, but he's saying he's going to sacrifice himself to death and all that shit. And I took that as kind of like a death of God theology reading of the Jesus story. There's like the, God kills himself to save humanity line in like certain Christian atheist thought.
I mean, what would go along with the show is that Jesus was just a person that he wrote to die that way because it's his entertainment.
Yeah. Okay.
Right,
and this is where we got to, I remember us having this conversation on Discord at one point. Because if that means, that kind of just means Jesus is just a prophet in this, the human Jesus that once existed. Mm-hmm. And so this moves us into the next question. Now, is Supernatural secretly Muslim?
I wrote a note about this. I had the same fucking thought.
This is getting weird. You know what I mean?
Look, listener. I beg you, follow us. I think that me and Josiah are having a great. We're connecting on a metaphysical level.
I promise this isn't an Islamophobic conspiracy.
Well, the show can be a little Islamophobic at times, so I don't know.
It's from the early 2000s, Caleb. Are you surprised?
It's a war on terror movie. Or show. A war on terror show. Of course it's Islamophobic. 24 was on TV at the same time.
The reason I'm even saying is that because the Trinity is a hard thing to depict in media. That is a hard dynamic. There have been attempts to have it that it's three characters. There's a whole bunch of variations that you see in media on how, if you're going to portray a Trinitarian God, how are you going to portray it? And that's an interesting dynamic to how can you deal with that? I guess Supernatural just goes on the method of don't address it, and through that, it kind of feels that Chuck is both Unitarian and not, because the moment that Metatron realizes, oh my God, you're God, he instantly does the sign of the cross and starts to bow. So clearly, there is he both is he all three?
Is there the best option is, if he's supposed to be all of the Abrahamic religions, that there's an alternate path Muslim Sam and Dean going on at the same time. Which would rule. I would love that.
We gotta get you hired by the WB right fucking now.
Yeah, I'm sure this will end up real tasteful. No, I genuinely, as I'm thinking about this more and more, do not want the Supernatural writers tackling Islam. I do not.
You don't think that they're going to be able to approach it with tact?
No, because they don't approach Christianity with tact, which that's
most
whatever.
It's
the most dominant religion in the area. I don't care. It's not it's fine. I'm not offended by it. But if you take that and then you apply it to Islam, I promise they do some fucked up stuff.
And I think that maybe because we're all, at least we have all grown up in, in a Christian cultural context.
Yeah.
In a Christian tradition that this is the basis for us in our head. So it doesn't read as off as, if you are looking at Supernatural objectively, this is some weird ass misinterpretations of both standard Christian theology and even weird shit on misinterpreting Paradise Lost and Dante's Inferno. It's bizarre. It's strange. It's only because we've grown up in the context that we're it's its own thing.
Yeah,
but if you look at it from the outside looking in, it's what are you doing?
What the fuck is happening?
This was on the point of is Supernatural secretly Muslim? There is and Kel, you'll be able to answer this because you actually have seen the show. The breaking point between Chuck and Lucifer was Chuck asking Lucifer to bow to humanity, right?
Yes, that's correct.
That is not outside of Paradise Lost. That is as far as what I've been able to find, that's not a part of the Christian tradition as it is. That is from the Quran.
Okay, So they, like we were talking about earlier with the whole Nephilim thing, when that Nephilim was born, it opened up a portal to another world which later it's turned out that the other worlds are different God stories. And I guarantee that means that there is one where Sam and Dean are Muslim or in a different country, because this is quote. So in season 15, Sam asks God about what other worlds he's created. God responds that most are boring. One where it's going backwards, one where there's no color yellow, one where it's all squirrels. This makes Sam worried, so he responds, Michael said you created these worlds and you just tossed them away, like Phil drafts of some book. Is that what you're going to do to us? And God chuckles and says, "No, Sam. Of all the Sams and Deans and all the multiverses, you're my favorite. You're just so interesting."
Wow. Okay, and this connects now to, I think, the aspect that needs to get zoomed in on here, which is the postmodern aspect, the meta-critical. If you're being disingenuous, maybe lampshading bad writing might be how you could call it, but. So, like, okay, I had thought initially before watching this that I was like, maybe I'm projecting a little bit on the whole God thing, that it's supposed to be the writers directly inserted. And then the first 2 or 3 minutes of the episode you had us watch includes them just directly naming episodes of Supernatural, right?
Yes, Bugs was one that did particularly poorly, and like.
And so they literally reference, and people hated this episode, and it is directly addressing the fandom at the time.
Yeah, back when Chuck is just Chuck, or the Carver Edlin writer guy with the Supernatural books, he says that some of the fans write fictions about them fucking, and they're like, they know that we're brothers, right? He's like, they don't seem to care. So they've been acknowledging it from like season 4.
And so the God insert it feels like the writers being sick of the show. It kind of feels like the trajectory you've described that happens after these episodes and stuff too, all feels like it's literally the writers entering the story and trying to figure out how to just end the damn thing.
Was Eric Kripke gone already, or was he still in the writer's room for Supernatural? I know that he credited as a executive producer because he created the show. He was the, I believe, showrunner, writer, yada yada. But at some point he left. But this feels like, if it's not Eric Kripke, someone who is in the role of Eric Kripke desperately just wants this thing to end.
And it especially something I was really hit by with that first episode is the Sam and Dean plot is like, it's Amara using the fog to control people and kill people. It's a monster of the week thing. And it's the show has overplayed its hand so many times of like, everything is at a cosmic scale constantly. It's always the end of the fucking world. And, you said that they did that like 5 or 6 times. There's like it's end of the world level.
At this point, it's more like 10 times or something.
Right. And so then, like, how I took the episode as kind of maybe I don't know if this is a good reading of it or not, but kind of a weird reading I had of the episode is that it's Amara's doing her thing. She's fucking everything up in the episode, and the fog's coming in, and it's like, oh my God, they're going to do it again. They're going to end the fucking world on the show again and go through all this. And then it's literally then when you're cutting to Metatron and God arguing, it's literally Metatron trying to get God to intervene and please don't do this again. Please don't do the same fucking thing over again. And then at the last moment, it's like a moment when he intervenes and stops it.
A literal Deus Ex Machina.
It is a literal Deus Ex Machina, and it's literally there in a way that it is framing it as like the writers being mad that they're doing the same thing over again and then last minute intervening. I don't know if I'm projecting too much onto it, but that was kind of how I read it as it was happening.
That's kind of what they go for around the end, is God is getting really pissed off because he's not getting the ending he wants.
Oh my God.
And Sam and Dean keep pushing to find a way around it, because originally he wants them to kill. He loves like brothers killing brothers, like Cain and Abel, all that shit. So, or Lucifer and Michael.
Yeah.
So he wants them to kill Jack, the Antichrist, who is good. And then because the Antichrist accidentally killed Sam and Dean's mom, who is back at this point, but now she's dead again. So he's like, I feel bad for what I did. I understand why this needs to happen. He also didn't have a soul, so that's why Dean was down to kill him. Then because he was given a God gun, like a gun that God made. God wanted to call it the Equalizer. It works essentially. You shoot somebody with it, and it transmits the energy, so you'll get shot in the same spot. So he had to use that to kill Jack, but then he didn't. He shoots God with it. Sam shoots God with it in the shoulder.
Okay.
And then they get like a connection between each other.
Oh.
And then Sam can hear or start seeing other Sam and Dean universes. One of them pops up, like they come to their universe because God starts eating worlds, and Sam has a man bun, and they drive a Fiat. Yeah, but anyway, they keep doing that, and to eventually get to the point that the show ends with them tricking. Michael is back, the original Michael. He had been locked in the cage for a real long time, and then Michael's like on their side for a bit, but then he hears that God has resurrected Lucifer to work for him, so then he gets all jealous. But then Sam and Dean know he's doing that, so then he goes to trick them and lures them to God's place, and it's like, oh no, everyone's gonna die. And then Jack sucks. It ends like Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Okay, all right.
Spoilers to both of these shows. He sucks God's power out and leaves him to live with the chaos he's wrought.
Okay. So,
yeah. Oh, and Jack becomes the new god.
Yeah. Okay. So I just don't know what to do with all of it. It's just so much.
It's hard to explain it.
No, I can make like a judgment if it's good lore or not, because it feels like that was not what they were setting up here. In the episodes that we were watching, that feels pretty atypical from like the structure of this shit.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's just trying to find a new ending over and over, and then the God character is constantly like lampshading that by kind of being like, isn't it so silly we're doing this now? And I don't know, I was thinking about this a bunch because I struggle to figure out why it is that there are certain meta things I really like and certain meta things I really hate. It's like one of my favorite horror movies is Scream, right? That's an incredibly meta film, and it's very self-aware, and I think it does interesting stuff with that. You know what I mean? I think that it is, I think it is more than just self-referential. I like Videodrome, that's a self-referential movie, but then like when the way like Marvel will sometimes do meta stuff, or I don't know, I don't know what it is that's different, but I find it insufferable. like that opening of the episode where it's just them being like, oh yeah, you remember how bad some of those episodes we did were? I just like find that so annoying. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's like, I like meta textual stuff. I don't like when fandom feels like it's invading a show, maybe.
And this feels like the ultimate example of that, which is also like, I don't even want to necessarily say that can be a bad thing.
You can do that well too, I think. Yeah.
They just did it too much.
Yeah.
Lost its effectiveness.
Yeah, because this, even from the get-go, it's like hitting you over the head that while the context of this is that it is Chuck revealing that he's God, this feels like the writers are stepping in to try to figure out what the hell do we do with this. Because if I remember correctly, the way that Supernatural Antagonist went was originally it was the devil. It was Lucifer, right?
Initially, it was Azazel, the yellow-eyed demon who was a prince of hell. But he was a follower. A lot of the princes of hells didn't follow Lucifer for a while. He because Lucifer was locked away. He was trying to get Sam, who is the true vessel of Lucifer, to join his psychic demon army so he could break the seal.
So,
Which is killing Lilith. You have to kill Lilith to break the seal. So when they killed her, they're like, "We did it!" And then Lucifer. They caused.
so wait, well, hold on, wait, Lilith. So in Supernatural, is Lilith a demon, or is she Adam's first wife, or is it both? Okay, both.
Adam
she was
fucked a
corrupted by
demon.
Lucifer. No, she was one of the 3 people in the garden.
Okay.
Lucifer stuck in, tricked the angel Gadriel. He will come back later. Way later. He worked for Metatron. Lucifer came in as a snake, tricked Eve into eating the apple. Adam ate it too, which they actually say it's a what they call it. Adam corrects them and corrects what fruit it was. It's not an apple. It's some.
Wait, hold on. Adam corrects them. Is Adam a character?
Season 15, yeah.
Okay.
He wants to kill God.
Keep going. I get you. No, just keep going.
Lilith got corrupted by Lucifer. She became the first demon. She has white eyes instead of black.
Okay. All right.
And she, so she's like the most pure. And she is like, she's the chief of hell because Lucifer wasn't there. So she was running everything. And Azazel was working for her. And then they kill her, I think, with the Colt or something.
Okay.
And then they're like, "Oh, we did it." And then so Sam shoots her, and he triggers the apocalypse. And then Lucifer escapes, and then eventually it comes to a showdown where So just like Sam is the true vessel for Lucifer, Dean is the true vessel for Michael, the archangel. And it all leads to them going to Wyoming or Kansas or wherever the fuck, and having like a battle. They also have a half brother, Sam and Dean do. And so eventually Michael gets pissed and tricks him into possessing him. And then they get to the Devil's Gate thing, and it's open. And then Castiel shows up and throws a Molotov, a holy fire at Michael, and calls him ass butt. And then Sam was like, takes control again of his body. He's possessed by Lucifer at this point.
Right. Okay.
And he was beating the shit out of Dean for hurting his brother, because only he can hurt Michael. And then Sam takes control and grabs Michael and him, and he throws them both all into hell. And then Sam goes to hell for a while. He loses his soul.
Okay.
He loses his soul, but they
and
don't
is
know
it that did they let Amara out by getting Sam out of hell? Is that what happened?
No, that's way later. Amara gets out because eventually to kill. Okay, so then there's Knights of Hell. There's a lot of different demon types.
Right.
Crossroad demons are another.
Okay.
But Knights of Hell were trained by Cain, who was trained by Lucifer. Cain was originally a human. He's like one of the second demons. He realized that Lucifer was talking to Abel, and he was like, "Oh fuck!" So then he says he talks to Lucifer and says, "I'll trade my soul for his. Mine goes to hell. Abel's goes to heaven." And then he becomes a demon through that. And then because he's the first person to commit murder, he gets the mark of Cain. And that means Amara was trapped inside Cain for a long time. And then they needed that mark to kill Abaddon, the Knight of Hell. She killed all the men of letters, which are like like from the 40s, like a fancy monster hunter people.
Okay.
Anyway, Dean gets the mark. That's, I think, why he has a relationship with Amara, is because she was inside him.
Oh.
And then how Dean gets is he kills Cain eventually.
Okay.
Which the mark will eventually lead you to killing your own brother. That's how it happens.
Oh, that's what the mark of Cain is.
So he starts getting real aggressive.
Okay. Now, this is part of the problem with them just kind of making shit up around these things that are like, real theological concepts or real concepts that have existed and whatever. Because doesn't the Mark of Cain thing, isn't that a fucking, isn't that was used by racists?
Yes.
That's a racism thing.
Technically, yes, and it's two things. It's the Mark of Cain and it's the Curse of Ham.
And the Curse of Ham, it was like American slave owners had the theory that Africans descended from the Curse of Ham or from having the Mark of Cain.
Like I think there are some that say that black people carry the Curse of Cain, the Mark of Cain as well. But the big one, the one of the main ways of justifying, hey, why are you enslaving people, was postulating that, well, they're descendants of Ham, and Ham was cursed, so that means that they have to be in servitude.
Yeah, those are the ones.
It feels like they're like using theological concepts, like the names of them, because they sound cool, but they didn't look at the Wikipedia article for, hey, so what is this thing?
Yeah, because I just think that that's one of those things that's a little dangerous to be throwing around. Like, I mean, I know maybe most people, it's kind of a forgotten thing to history. Most people, to my knowledge, I wasn't raised being told that the curse and Mark of Cain were racial things, but I mean, it has that history. It makes me nervous.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Cain is a white guy, so
that's nice to hear.
He's the detective from Psych, Lassiter. That's the actor.
Yeah. Does Adam meet Cain? Does he meet his son?
No.
That feels like a missed opportunity there.
Well, Cain died before Adam they introduced way at the end, because he's been buying his time for 300,000 years. He's married to an angel, and they're hippies.
Oh, what happened to Eve?
She's the queen of monsters.
Oh my God!
Mother of monsters. Mother. So technically, the very first monsters were leviathans, but God found them too stressful, so he locked them away, and he made purgatory and locked them away. Eve is like a leviathan, but they call her a whore and a half breed. She's not. She is similar to leviathan. She has black blood and shit like them, but she's human too. And she made all monsters, like vampires, werewolves, dragons. Dragons just look like dudes. Phoenixes also look like dudes.
Budget would not allow.
No. Angels rarely show their wings, and it varies how cool they look between seasons.
So I just want to clarify this. Eve, as in they're taking this is Eve made from the rib of Adam.
Oh yeah.
Created all of the monsters that inhabit the world.
Yeah. Not demons though.
That's Lilith.
Yeah, Lilith and Lucifer.
Okay, so this would be like vampires and shit like that?
Yes, vampires, werewolves. The first
Season
ones would be
1
purebloods. Yeah. Well, no, there's purebloods later, and they're like, or not purebloods. What do you call alphas? They're the first ones she turned, and the ones that are still alive. So in like season 8, there's like a minor antagonist. He's one of the alpha vampires.
So I guess to bring some basis of mythology here, it seems like they didn't know what to do with Eve, so they gave Eve the aspects that are traditionally given to Lilith, because Lilith comes from a ancient Near Eastern succubus demon, which was then in later Hellenistic Judaic myth, which then would like cascade into medieval Jewish myth, was that she was the mother of monsters and demons. So they just took out the demon part, they took out the monster part, and then gave that to Eve, because it seems that they didn't know what to do with Eve.
But that was like season 6 is she's the bad guy, and Adam is in season 15. Lilith is a bit earlier than that.
Okay, so there's definitely a sexism problem in the show, right? Is that
it gets better? No, they get woke.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's degrees of betterness, but I don't know. I was really struck by that with Amara, where it's like, okay, Lucifer, the male guy, doesn't end up being fully evil, but the evil one ends up being the woman who represents the opposite of order. It's some fucking Jordan Peterson shit. She represents disorder.
She turns out to be kind of the good one, honestly.
Okay.
Has Jordan Peterson watched Supernatural? Do we know that?
Oh, Jordan Peterson would love Supernatural, dude.
We should show him Supernatural.
I
Maybe
think
that
so.
will fix him.
I think so. It'd be a way to channel that weirdness into just like being like a mid 2010s like Supernatural girl on Tumblr.
Maybe
like that's the real thing Jordan wanted to be, and then instead he got into young
around because like you made the very good point that like Amara is. Her entire character is like the seductress with Dean. It's all about her trying to seduct Dean to her side, and there's if you know like the meta stuff about Supernatural. Supernatural has always had a hard time writing women, at least from what I'm told. And also, Supernatural has had an issue with the women that they write.
That's what I was just about to say. Getting death threats if they are around Sam and Dean because they're actually supposed to be gay brothers.
Right, but then Dean can be gay with Castiel, so that's okay.
Oh, and they queer bait way till the end, dude.
That's another big thing that
even like I think the phrase queer baiting got coined by this, right?
Or there were academic articles about this.
Because he can it can be read both ways. Castiel sacrifices himself at the end. And before he does that, it's to save them because he pissed off the entity, because that's where angels go when they die, and he's been resurrected a couple times, this whole natural order thing again. And the empty said he would only come back when Castiel was truly happy. So then Castiel tells Dean that he loves him and like all the things he likes about him, but he just said, and he's like, and I love you, and then he dies, and it's very emotional. It's like the most you see Castiel ever cry in the show, and then he dies, and then Dean doesn't really react too much. Like he's very sad about it, obviously, but like, you know, it doesn't feel like if they really were in love, but the way he said it all was very like, I'm in love with you. So
right. And there was some controversy over the Spanish translation. That's a whole other thing. There, go looking. But this is the Daciel thing. That's its own entity to cover and about like the ending. And either way you slice it, this is like a textbook example of the bury your gays trope that they had been queer baiting these two characters for a very long time and just had zero payoff around it. As far as I understand, again, I haven't fucking watched the show enough to say is that definitive, but there is apparently enough like text on this that I have read and watched that it appears that it kind of seems that there's a point here that queer baiting, there's no debate. There is serious queer baiting.
Dean is a very macho type bisexual man. Right. I could say at least in the later seasons, it feels like they're really trying to. I mean, if you're not a person who can see that kind of thing, you might not notice it. But like I don't know. When I was looking for it, I noticed it.
Yeah.
I wonder if part of this was limitations with CW, or was it trying to like
that? Would be
they've
fair.
shown other gay characters in the show,
but they're not the main.
But not the main characters.
Remember, that's a big thing. You can have your gay representation. You could have LGBTQ representation, but it can't be.
He just has to be a very flirty gay guy. He can't be like chill. He's always fucking. That's what they did with this male witch dude.
Yeah, I mean that's been a thing for both for LGBTQ representation and Black representation, BIPOC representation broadly is you can have these characters, but they have to play into like certain tropes. You know, there's the magical Negro trope, there's the Black best friend, there's the flirty gay guy, there's
Bobby had a Black best friend.
There's a lot of
there's like these. That's like been a thing in terms of like media studies and media criticism is these characters can exist in this story, but they're limited to being, those archetypes.
Yeah. They can't be their own thing.
They can't be their own thing. You can't explore them more as people.
Yeah.
Or if they are explored more, then then you kill them off, or you never see them again, or there's a whole chest to go into for that. But that is like a Supernatural was one of the contributive aspects of that in terms of media study. So it would be remiss of us not to like mention that. Yeah, this is another consequence of this show, is that it was a big contributing factor to like modern media criticism of popular culture.
Is there ever a chunk in it, or is it maybe even in the episode, but I missed it, where somebody gets mad at Chuck for queer baiting?
No, I don't think I think they would be too scared.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
That feels like that would be meta to the point where it would get the fan base upset at them.
What they did do was an episode where it's at a I think it's like a fancier high school, like the ones where they make you dress up. And the people were putting on a play there about Sam and Dean, with like, it was the kids putting on a play and with the bisexual overtones, like instead of being like undertones, like they're making it a prominent thing. There's a like Castiel and him being in love with each other. Okay. So that's like around the plot. Like there's a monster and stuff, but they're protecting the kids during the play.
I see. Okay.
So they acknowledge it, just not necessarily with Chuck.
Just not with Chuck.
Or if they did, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
So my memory about this stuff is shaky.
That it's a bummer because I was looking for an excuse to name this episode "Getting Queer Baited by God."
That's a good title. Oh, god damn it! That's such a good title.
I'll just Google Supernatural Chuck queer baiting and see what happens.
Chuck feels kind of gay.
Oh, it said no. They say God has had boyfriends.
Yeah, that's right. No, yeah, that was in the episode. That was in the episode. God is bisexual in this show.
I'm curious if there was a big moral panic around this episode that we're just like too far removed from to
it would be
aware of.
It'd be 2016, so I can't tell. That's right on the edge where it either could have just flown completely under the radar. Because, like, I think if you're like a conservative Christian that's going to be offended by this, I don't think you get this far in the show.
Right.
You know what I mean? At this point. But then on the flip side, I don't know, 2016, that's the real starting to turn up the temperature on the culture war. So I could also imagine it, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like if this was released now, this would absolutely be, but just all that the right could talk about for months on end.
Yeah.
Even though it really is hard to take any of this seriously because it is all just like meta commentary about how the writers want to end the show.
Yeah. And you know what even more annoyed me? And I don't know how intentional this was, but there was like a throwaway Vonnegut reference in this episode.
Yes, there is.
And it was making me think about, because I was thinking again, like about this thing of like, why is there some, meta stuff I like and some I don't? Because that reference felt like it was kind of directly trying to point at Breakfast of Champions, which is a book in which Vonnegut literally appears as a character by the end. Mm-hmm. Like the writer enters the story.
We're definitely making that reference.
Yeah, and it felt like that was kind of the gesture. And so I don't know. And I mean, I guess that kind of has the same thing where it's like kind of the characters, it kind of building up to like this big moment when God/Vonnegut chooses to end the story. But even then, like, I don't know, there's stuff with Breakfast of Champions that's got like a point more than that. Cause it's like, that's the book, the Vonnegut book where he, like every character that shows up describes their like penis size. And the point he's trying to do with that is that like by nature, a novel has facts it will tell you and facts it doesn't. It's always the incomplete truth, it's a lie. And so because of that, it's like the novel's like tearing apart the idea of the novel and like dealing with the fact there's no way to tell a story that isn't a lie in some way, that isn't like leaving stuff out. There's no way to relay history or information without, editing it,
Mm-hmm.
And that's an interesting idea. That's not what's going on in Supernatural at all. What I mean?
Not at all. I will say that I think that casting the overall like narrative structure of like I kind of wish instead of being Supernatural, what this was like a one person, well, a like almost like a stage play of a writer and his editor going back and forth with each other.
Fundamentally, it's a play
That's the
or
most interesting
play
stuff.
or a Bergman movie. I mean, frankly, that's the thing. It's like that episode is really good because it's kind of the parts of it that feel like a Bergman-esque chamber drama are the parts that are most interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
for me
like,
personally.
even,
Anyway.
you could even keep that it's God. Like, you want a real premise. It's the Trinity debating with itself.
That's fun. That's a fun little story there.
There you go. That's something. You could take that, Eric Kripke, you hack fraud.
Well, his writer name, Carver Edlund, is two of like last or first names of some of the other creators. So like he is legit like a representation of the writers. Yeah.
Like he's the combination of both of the writers in the show. There is something that, so aside from, I don't think that Supernatural is actually pulling as much from Abrahamic mythology and theology, and that I think that it's pulling from something that is based on that, which is the comic book Preacher.
Okay.
Now,
this is your theory?
This is my theory. This is not even a theory because Garth Ennis, another character that Garth Ennis wrote, is Constantine, who is Castiel is like a carbon copy of Constantine, with the cigarettes, with the disheveled 5 o'clock shadow, with the trench coat, the color of the trench coat, everything.
I need to watch Constantine. That always looks like just exactly what I want of like that type of like 2000s trashy,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite. Unironically, that is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Really? Okay, I really should watch it.
My favorite depiction of the devil. Amazing. Peter Stormare as the devil is like pitch perfect casting.
Nice. Okay.
But the comic book Preacher was it's me, so I have to bring this up. And this is like, they did read this. They've read Ennis before. They've read Hellblazer, which was with Constantine, and they've also read Preacher. Preacher is about a Texan preacher named Jesse Custer, who was a criminal who trying to turn his life around as a preacher in a small town, and suddenly he is cursed with the word of God. So whatever he says for people to do, they do it. And he finds out that God has abandoned heaven and the angels are running it.
Okay. Okay.
And there's the whole thing of that he wants to go find God to ask him why did he, abandon the earth.
Well, that's literally Castiel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once he stops being like a soldier. He's
traveling with his ex-wife, who he's still in love with, and an Irish vampire while they're combating, they find out that all of like these supernatural shenanigans that have existed in mythology, there actually is a basis in truth. There is like a secret order of like a pseudo-Christian cult that's trying to bring about the Antichrist to end the world.
Okay.
There's a ton of shit.
It's connected. Yeah. Okay, this got me thinking of another thing about this is like, okay, Supernatural doesn't really have politics to the best I can see of it, but there's kind of a politics to this that I'm thinking about because, okay, it's looking at heaven, at the supernatural world, whatever that is, in folklore, in Christian folklore and Christian mythology and religion, and then kind of trying to play with it and make it something else. And I was thinking about how, like, okay, so like, for instance, maybe The Good Place is an example of a show. What that does is take that mythology and then say, what if heaven and everything is a big bureaucracy? You know what I mean? With this, it's like, what if heaven, hell, all that, like, what if the mythology is all like backroom deals? This is what I was thinking about, because the way the show always functions, it's especially in these like 2 episodes, it's like getting characters meeting up together. It feels like a political thriller from the 90s, Oh, we got to get this guy who, The Rock, for instance, we get the smartest, Nicolas Cage playing like, a smart scientist guy, and he's got recruited by the state, and then they have to get this criminal who's in Alcatraz, and pull him out because we need him to do one job job real quick, even though he's the bad guy, and we're all coming together because we're going to try to fight this opponent, and save the day. The way that the story functions is like a political thriller, or maybe a mob movie would be similar, like these kind of backroom deals of trying to get the characters together to use their forces to beat the big bad or whatever. And I think that if that's the case, there's kind of a weird nefarious politics to this all, because ultimately, like, what it is like, okay, what if all there is, the extension of the transcendent universe, is just like the corrupt political structures?
Yeah, you can make a capitalist realist argument around this. It's the same thing that like it's the same thing that like if you look at like science fiction, like sci-fi that still has it that we do not ever escape, like that there is no post-capitalist future, that we just transpose, that there is capitalism just gets worse and worse and worse, but there's never like an end point. Like think about like the cyberpunk genre with mega corporations. Think about it, like Alien, where we just have corporatized space is corporatized.
Yeah, and this does this on the religious level, kind of like, like the parallel I drew with The Good Place. The Good Place kind of being like, what if transcendence is just a big bureaucracy? It's this thing of like, there's no transcending and escaping the world and the system we have. It's all the same up there too, you know? It is a deeply end of history text, is what I'm saying. I don't know if I'm serious or not right now.
Well, no, literally heaven and death were like heaven and reapers, angels and reapers, and hell at all is their bureaucracies.
Yeah. They're all bureaucracies.
They have numbers, like they do math, like demons are doing math. Like there's accountant demons. There's an angel that when she got cast out of heaven, Metatron did that. He wanted revenge on the angels. They got all cast out of heaven. They lost their wings. She became a faith healer, but before, also she ends up fucking Lucifer. But her job before was just pushing a button whenever a soul would come in.
Yeah. Okay, and so in that sense, Supernatural is a corrupt bureaucracy at the top with rogue agents and a deep state, if you will, in the sense of just
angels are
people acting independent of the broad upstairs desire, You have all that.
No real broad.
There's Angel MK Ultra.
As opposed to The Good Place is an ineffectual bureaucracy. That's what that is.
Yeah,
I haven't seen The Good Place, but not malevolent either. It's just
it's not malevolent. It's like it's just it's not easy to reform. It's stagnant, and that's like most of the plot. If you want to read it that way, is them kind of trying to make heaven work again. Like they've allowed the bureaucracy get to a point that nobody goes to heaven anymore because it's so strict, and everyone's just kind of letting the system run. And so you could read it as like they're trying to, I don't know, like reform the system and make it a functioning, actual just system. And I don't know. I don't know if that makes A Good Place a good show or not. Honestly, I have mixed feelings about that show now, but with Supernatural, I think it's pretty depressing. It's pretty cynical.
It's extremely,
yeah, this is a nihilistic universe. It's very hopeless.
Yeah,
it doesn't necessarily make it bad. It doesn't make it bad media, but it is bleak if you really start thinking about it.
And I don't think like it's bleak in a way that I don't think like it's even aware that it's bleak, because it postulates that that the metaphysical is the exact same as the material. That there's no escape of a bureaucracy. There is capitalist realism extends to even the metaphysical. That's highly depressing. There's no escape.
And that's half the joke of like, okay, the character I found really interesting, despite him totally also existing to just lampshade how ridiculous the show is getting at this point, is the atheist character and the professor. Yeah, the Donatello, the one that they rope in that second episode.
Yeah.
In what is that? In episode 21 of season 11.
Yeah.
And yeah, his whole thing is like he's an atheist and now he's also he's a prophet and didn't realize it. And so, he's this atheist like chemist, I think, or something like that.
Yeah,
professor of some
like
science, some STEM guy. We're suddenly realizing overnight that the most insane and medieval understanding of religion is just 100% true.
See, that's I did
liked
dig that.
I actually thought that was really funny.
When Chuck was talking to him and saying shit like, "Oh, hey, Donatello, I designed you. I designed you before you were born. I knew exactly what you were gonna do." Where you're like, and Donatello's getting freaked the fuck out by
There's a mild Coen Brothers esqueness to the whole thing, because it's like the whole like theme in a lot of Coen Brothers movie of there is a grand conspiracy, but it's the stupidest thing in the world, like Burn After Reading or whatever. It makes me think of like, it has that vibe of, it's like the guy does find out there is transcendence, there is more, there is a supernatural world, and it's just ridiculous. It's just as stupid as the real world is. Yep. And so he has that line of like, "Oh, I wish I could go back to being an atheist now, because this sucks."
Right. Yeah, you can't you have to become like some kind of natheist or something to where like you acknowledge that the most batshit misinterpretation of medieval theology is correct. But what the fuck do you do with that?
To be clear, this is a trope I do really like in media, but I can't decide. I thought that character was entertaining in Supernatural, but I also feel like the character is existing at that moment to cover for the writing being so ridiculous at this point. So you can have a guy look at the camera and be like, "This is so wacky." So, but on the flip side, I do really love a movie that just like takes the most like literal understanding of like biblical mythology at like complete face value and just asserts that it's true in the universe. Like, oh god, Devil. Have you ever seen that movie? The one where they get trapped in an elevator with the devil. And it's just the most literal, like, what if fucking medieval Christianity is 100% right? Or
it's awesome.
I love it. Or As Above, So Below is this like movie I think about a lot, that it's imperfect because I think it was a found footage movie that shouldn't have been a found footage movie. It was one of those. So that part annoys me, but it rocks because it's like, a bunch of like these two explorers going into like the catacombs beneath Paris, and they just find the gate to hell described in Dante's Inferno. They just like end up in hell.
That sounds awesome.
It's so fun. It's like, The Descent, if you ever, that movie. It's like if The Descent was also like a religious horror movie, because it's got the same like claustrophobia thing going on. It's pretty fun.
Go watch The Descent if you haven't seen that.
If you haven't seen The Descent,
it's incredible.
We just had a movie night with that one a couple months or like a month ago, right, Caleb?
Yeah, I was about to go get my scuba certification, and we decided to not originally watch it because
good idea.
Yeah, a lot of claustrophobia, a bit of water. That's not good when you're 50 feet down.
No.
But incredible movie. When I watched it afterwards, loved it.
Oh,
excellent.
Man. Yeah, that's a great movie. Anyway, so I love a movie that takes like religious stuff like completely literally. It's a lot of fun. It can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and specifically like taking medieval popular like folk religious ideas.
Yeah,
and saying that is because like if you because you can then say, well, what if like Aquinas is like, what if you take the structure of like a literal Aquinas understanding of the world, and it's not that radical as let's take like the popular religious ideas that were in the oeuvre, the cultural milieu of Europe. No, all that's true.
Yeah. That's so cool. It's so awesome.
And Supernatural might have been more, I think, effective in like its messaging on that for me, if it was more like that versus where that was not
if it actually took Christian folklore a little more seriously, I think I would like it more, because it would feel like a little, I don't know, it would feel more grounded because they choose to set it in the real world.
Yeah.
And so because of that, you know, it's annoying to throw out references like, oh, you're like Joan of Arc, you know, referencing that that's real in this universe and that happened. But then like knowing it's all part of this like pointless cosmic
story.
mafia war.
Yeah.
And this is not to say that like for Josiah and us we're religious, so this is like not us having a problem with
no, I engage with plenty of heretical media. I don't I
want to
like
the source material for Supernatural, for Preacher, is by Garth Ennis, who is an edgy atheist. And Preacher, it's not even a piece of work that I even enjoy a ton of the time because it can get so nihilistic and edgy. But that book is in of itself, it is like an enthusiastic denial of like a theistic conception of a loving God. The entire book. And there's a show too that was done by AMC that you can watch that kind of takes it does some stuff better than the comic, I think, and other stuff not so good, but definitely has like some more better development on some of the ideas. But both the show and the book are satires of like fundamentalist Christianity and of like in of itself, like for Preacher specifically, the comic, it is specifically a satire of like the idea of a loving God. And in fact, I wanted to bring this up. God in Preacher, the reason why he created life was because he was lonely.
That's where they got that from.
He was lonely, and that's why he did what he did. Even the idea of like a gun that can kill supernatural beings, that is fucking from Preacher. There's a dude called the Saint of Killers who is a Old West cowboy who has dual wielding guns that is able to he's able to kill, like permanently kill supernatural beings. In the show, he shoots the devil. He kills the devil in the show.
You know what?
Go ahead. Where it varies is there's only one gun. It is from cowboy times. They go back in time to get it from Samuel Colt. It's also a key. It opens the gate to hell, and it doesn't work on the devil.
Okay. All right. So it's a depowered version of the one.
Yes.
It is less effective.
You know what? Okay, you know what's a movie I like that this I would rather watch than the Supernatural thing, I think. Is Ghost Rider.
Hell yeah.
You know what? Lean into the comic bookiness of it. Ghost Rider rocks. That's a real fun with the Christian mythology thing going on in that. Oh man. You know what? I used to make fun of it as a kid because I don't know why. I thought I was better than it or something. I think there were people who were offended by it when we were growing up. Like there were because I don't know, actually, because when I watched it, I was like, this is surprisingly Christian, and I wish I'd watched it as a little evangelical because I would have fucking loved it if I'd actually watched it.
I mean, it's the same thing that when you talked about like when people have a problem with Diablo and Doom.
Yeah.
It's a weird because like the point of that media is that you are killing demons, and under like a fundamentalist or evangelical belief system, you do believe that demons are like a reality. So it's not even that like postulating that they're real that you have an issue with. That media is also about you have to kick their ass.
Well, and Ghost Rider is like a redemption story, like because it is like a guy that sold his soul to the devil, kind of, and then he regrets that, and he's trying to undo that. That's like the whole like tragedy going on in it. I don't know, like it's fun.
It's essentially the idea of like a Faustian bargain and you having the chance to try to make it right.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's cool.
Caleb, you should watch Ghost Rider with Nicolas Cage. It's a great
movie. I just added it to my watch list.
You know what we should do? We should do another episode with the three of us during Lent and talk about my favorite Christian movie, Ghost Rider.
Unironically. Ghost Rider is one of the best Christian movies ever made, and I mean that completely. I'm completely serious about it. There's also another fun fact on Ghost Rider. So Ghost Rider, this may be the way of getting you into one of the funny books, Josiah, because Ghost Rider, according to the deep lore, Ghost Rider is not technically a demonic thing. Ghost Rider is like it was an angel created by God to clear the earth.
He's like the angel of death. Okay.
Yes. One of the first created during, he's kind of less the angel of death and more of the embodiment of the angel of vengeance.
That's so cool.
It's dope. He was created during the antediluvian period on Earth. But it was taken to like too much time, so then the flood happened. But
of course.
Is there a scene where he's like going around shooting people, but then like he doesn't go into certain doors if there's lamb's blood over the door? Because that's what I want. I want that.
Yes.
Wait, unironically, yes.
Yeah, there's
yes.
I'll send you the comic. I'll send you like what the comic it is in. But there is a point
that
where
rules.
like he's specifically avoiding like Noah's family.
That rocks. Oh my god, that rocks.
Go watch Ghost Rider says Supernatural. That is my you go read Ghost Rider. It's about dudes who are technically religious in the way that, man, the devil definitely exists because he keeps fucking up my life real bad.
You want to see a guy with a flaming skull driving a motorcycle? Boy, do I have a movie for you.
Do you want to see Nicolas Cage in one of the best performances that he's ever been in?
Yeah, because he's super into it. Because he's a huge Ghost Rider fan, like of the comics.
Yes.
So he was like his dream role. Yeah, it was like his dream role.
He's a goth comic book nerd. He just doesn't present himself that way.
No, but when you listen in interviews where he's talking about this shit, he adores it. Even like when he was talking about like the small role that he had in Spider-Verse as Spider-Man Noir, he's like thinking about this, like about what is the past of this different Peter Parker, this one grew up in the 30s. He's like, oh my god, you can't, like, this dude gives a shit about this in a way I don't think that other people do.
Let's do final thoughts on Supernatural.
Right.
Actually, I kind of want Caleb's final thoughts first because you've watched the whole show.
Yes. You madman.
You pulled it off. You finally did it.
So I stopped. Okay, so when I started writing for this podcast episode concept, I was having a lot of fun with the show. I was like, I think I started at like season like 8 or something. As the Leviathan season is when I picked up again because I've seen the first bit a bunch.
Yeah, trying to rewatch it.
Yes, and giving up. But the God Rule came up, and I thought that was fun. But as I kept watching, the weight of the predictability was just crushing down on me, and the jokes that you find endearing were starting to just piss me off. And by season 14, I just didn't have a lot to say. So I wrote a bunch of stuff. We barely used a lot of it. It was just kind of there me to write it down so I'd remember it.
Yeah, sure.
But around when I got to season 14, when they're trying to kill the Antichrist, even though he's their buddy, I just could not write anymore. I started just kind of writing like and then he said this, and then they said that, and that's just not fun to write or hear.
No.
Yeah, and then like I said, it ends like Avatar: The Last Airbender, and then Dean goes to heaven. They do their next job, and then he gets thrown on a spike. But then he breaks the cycle of one of them like reviving the other. And he's just like, no, let me die, Sam. And then Sam grows old and dies. He actually gets to have a normal life. That's what he always wanted.
So how does this show make you feel, having seen the whole thing now?
Nauseous. Yeah, honestly, it was fun while it lasted, but goddamn, pun intended, it just Chuck, damn it, man, I can't do it anymore.
If you had to pick and like the ideal ending point for you for the show, what do you think would have been like the best point to end it?
sometimes I agree with what most people say was once they kill the devil, like season 5 or 6. I think they could have tied it up in 10 with making God the bad if they smushed it all down into like that season. I think the Antichrist stuff was neat. Like Jack was an interesting character because he's like a fully grown person who everything is like saying he's going to be bad, but because of his mom being a good person and her leaving him a video, he's like trying to be good up until the point he loses his soul. But like honestly, just maybe I really don't know, like because they just keep bringing it back and back, and there's so many different points it could have ended. Really, they just like fucked up a lot of the story with back in like season 5 with doing that so early. They made Lucifer kill a bunch of like pagan gods, which totally could have been other, bad guys in the show later on. So they ruined their chances of doing anything like besides Christian stuff, which is fine. But like they just
But then
really
why bring them up? Yeah.
yeah,
Like
why
even
show Odin and Balder and Kali and all these different gods, and then they were all just for a joke that shows that Lucifer is super powerful and kills them super easy. Like they make a joke about one of the gods because one of their countries believes in the world being on the back of a turtle, and then he says in his native language like, "Don't make fun of my world turtle," so haha, and then Lucifer kills them all.
Very good.
No, isn't a core Native American cosmological concept is Turtle Island?
Yeah.
God damn it! What the fuck is wrong with you, Supernatural? Come on.
Yeah, that sucks. That's that. Yeah.
It's probably more of a. All right, I'm gonna be fair that it's probably like a Discworld reference.
Well,
rather
that's what I was assuming it was yeah, because that's
I don't want it to be that they were lampooning like a Native American.
Yeah, trying to own Native American.
Which
I think
more likely than not,
was Chinese
that is not
or
what
something.
the intent was.
Oh, the guy was like Asian or
Yeah.
something.
I don't think that's. I'm not
That's
an
not a
expert
thing.
on ancient Chinese folk religion, but I don't believe that was ever a belief system around in China.
Oh my god. Well, Jackal, final thoughts.
I read. I started rereading David Bentley Hart's book on. I think what is it called? It's not that. That all shall be saved. It's his book on God.
Is it Atheist Delusion or is
not
it a
Atheist
different?
Delusion?
No, okay.
It's from it. Do you know that the?
Is it
God,
like the experience of God or something like that? Okay,
that's the one.
Yeah, I haven't
and
read
there's
that one.
a specific chunk of it that's God, gods, and fairies, and it's a piece of it that I always think back to because I think that it's like a key thing that a lot of people, when it comes to media around like supernatural stuff, it feels like there's like a. This goes to like what my question before was about what kind of God Chuck is. Supernatural to me, and what I'm bringing this up is that it's kind of was one of the main factors in as a little kid who was into a little theology nerd. This show was very annoying because people would bring up stuff as if it was true in Supernatural. It's like, no, I know that it's not, and that childhood trauma aside, I think that watching these two episodes for Supernatural, on one hand, I can see how this show lasted as long as it did. These are competent. Like, these are competent.
Yeah, it's fun. It was fun to
television.
watch. Yeah.
Especially that first episode. The conversation with Metatron and Chuck, it is both in service of like some of that writing and the acting on the part of the the actors for Metatron and Chuck. They're really good. They're really, really good.
Yeah, the dude who plays Metatron was in Better Off Dead. He plays Booger. He's a very good actor, and I think Rob Benedict is Chuck's actor. But they're both great. Yeah,
they're both really strong. So on one hand, it showed me that I could see why Supernatural lasted as long as it did. Like there is clearly some weight to this show in terms of its writing and acting. That is good television. Mm-hmm. But there's also so much junk. There's so much junk.
Oh. Yeah, it's easy to just spitball a Sam and Dean conversation and it sound like it's a part of the show. Yeah. It's so ridiculous.
So
Go.
I guess to sum it up, these two episodes are kind of indicative of problems that I've seen in media, that when it's constructing around metaphysical concepts, that it just goes off of misunderstandings of it and just sort of like the surface level stuff, and not really. And when you do that, that then can haunt you later when you're on season 13 and you don't know what the fuck to write about anymore. But you know what? I didn't hate it as much as I've been ragging on it this episode. I didn't hate this like these two episodes.
Yeah,
these are enjoyable. At least the first one is more enjoyable than the second one. Like,
definitely.
These are enjoyable, like, television, writing flaws and all. And I can see why, like, the show did have the attachment that people did have on it. Am I going to do the insane thing that Caleb did and watch the entirety of Supernatural? Absolutely not. I am absolutely
not.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah.
But do I understand it better now? Yeah, I do.
Nice. My final okay, before I do my final thoughts, one thing I wanted to throw out here was, the guy who plays Metatron is Curtis Armstrong. And I just am so delighted to remember that Curtis Armstrong is also in a fantastic film called Quigley. Now, Quigley is a Christian movie starring Gary Busey, where God turns Gary Busey into a dog.
Oh my God, you're talking about this movie again?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in that.
God turns Gary Busey into a Pomeranian.
Naturally.
And I don't remember the movie very well, but apparently Curtis Armstrong is a major character in it. When I watched that movie, I was rather intoxicated. Because of course I was. It was Quigley. That was one of those roommate in college said, "Hey, do you want to watch this?" and pulled out Quigley. Anyway, so Curtis Armstrong was in that, so I want to give a shout out to that.
Yeah, shout out to him. He was great in that episode of My Name is Earl also. Fantastic actor.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, Curtis
His delivery is
awesome. Excellent. But my actual thoughts on the show from this is, okay, what I had always suspected a bit about Supernatural is that there are some gems in it, but that it's too much shit to go through to get the gems.
Yeah.
And I always overemphasized the shit. And what I will say about these episodes is it reminded me that there are gems in that pile of shit. That there is something worthwhile in it. I see what people like about it, but ultimately I am not committed enough to actually watching the whole show to get into it. Yeah. I just can't do it. And I'm sorry if you're somebody who could and you love the show and this has just been a depressing hour or two of us just bullying your favorite show. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Let me say, I have a soft spot for this show. I do like it, I would say, but it is so dumb. We are allowed to laugh at it.
If we have been too hard on this show, for one, I get it.
Yeah.
Media that you watch in a formative period in your life means a lot to you.
I have been so scared to revisit Doctor Who for this reason.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
And I understand that for a lot of people, this show was a part of a very important formative period of their life. We've all got that. So I am not, as much as as I've ragged on it, I don't want it to come across that I think lesser of people who like Supernatural. It's not that. It's just that it has problems, and I think most Supernatural fans are aware of that. The second thing is, I implore you, if you like Supernatural, please go watch Peak Fiction. That is the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider movie.
Yeah, watch Ghost Rider. And Quigley. Watch Quigley.
Watch Quigley. Watch Better Off Dead.
I am not co-signing that. I am not co-signing
that is American Protestant folklore right there. Quigley is.
Yeah.
There is a folk Christianity in America, and it's the film Quigley.
What I want to know is why they didn't get Gary Busey for Supernatural.
Oh my God!
Great.
He should have played God.
Supernatural? Oh my God!
Oh my God! Gary Busey as Chuck. Oh my God! They got to remake the show now.
Bring it back, reboot it.
aren't they rebooting it?
No,
They can't,
a bunch of
please,
the
no.
actors are in The Boys, though. Literally, okay, so the guy who plays Bobby Singer in Supernatural's name in The Boys is Robert Singer.
Oh
Oh,
my god.
The fans of the people who make The Boys like Supernatural because they're just hiring the actor for Sam, and they've already
Well,
had
it's not
Dean,
just that.
and
Eric
they're
Kripke is the showrunner of The Boys.
is he?
And- yes, he is.
How did
That's
I not?
his
Okay,
show.
I'm dumb. I didn't know that.
That's why there's so much crossover. Is it's the same guy?
Because they told Jensen Ackles, the Dean actor, to not play Dean, like because he's been playing him for 15 years. Like, try not to act like him. So that's why the guy knows Dean.
Go watch Constantine. That's a good movie. Go read Preacher. It's rough. Content warning. That is a fucking rough book. You might be better off watching the show because it reduces some of the really rough, dark content in the comic. But if you can handle it, the comic is an interesting read. The show peters out by season 4, but it's still pretty good. Watch Constantine. Watch Go watch Hellboy. Go watch Hellboy too. That's another good.
Hellboy.
Yeah, might as well.
There is it's not to rag on Supernatural. It's that there are problems that I think it could have avoided.
That's right. And ultimately, that's what we really want to solidify here. We are not trying to rag on Supernatural too hard because I know you guys are really good at death threats. And I really don't want any of those. So just whatever you want.
You're not
I'm
a
sorry
woman,
for the
you'll
episode.
get much less.
That's true. That's true. I'm not a woman, so they're not gonna do that to me.
You're not
Yeah.
dating Jared pedophile.
How do you pronounce his last name?
Pedalecki, I think.
Is that
Something
it?
like that. What one last thing I'll add about this show is, so the guy who plays Satan is great, but apparently he's like an anti-vax right-wing wacko.
Oh no.
Well, Gary Busey is a crank. We were just talking about that. I mean, that kind of comes with the territory.
But can you imagine Gary Busey? Imagine the same episode that we watched, but insert Gary Busey as Chuck.
And that's the way to do
I
it.
want to hear his rendition of Fare Thee Well.
Oh my god, it would be incredible.
Oh, yeah. Gary Busey was also in a Turkish nationalist film called Valley of the Wolves. I've been meaning to watch that.
Because
He
he's
just
also
does
Gary
everything.
Busey. Yeah, he's also clearly quite injured from years of substance abuse and that motorcycle injury.
Yeah, probably.
All right, we gotta close it down. Thank you everybody for listening. This has been fruitless. I'm ending the recording now.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, make sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps out with the algorithm. And also, if you really like the show, consider supporting it on Patreon. And one of the benefits of supporting this show on Patreon is that you get your name read out at the end of every episode. So without further ado, this episode is brought to you by our lovely patrons who include I Drink Corn Syrup, Yum, I am once again Leo Zachary Dickinson, Philip Cozy, Aaron Thompson, Attention Francis, Derek Hale, Gavin Aronson, Joseph Gross, Kyle Gannis, Metric Conversion, Moss, Nathan, Thiessen, Racecar, Regular Sized Horse, parentheses, Small, Robert Heilman, Stephen a.k.a. Spike Stonehand, The Blurst of Times, The Worst of All Possible Worlds, Vicky Sutton, and of course, Chris Barker. And now here's Antimateria by Beta Maximo.